All right, so it's Jersey Jaguar, and I'm back at you with another podcast, and this is also going to be on YouTube as well, filmed. And we have a very special guest, guys. I'm again still in Philadelphia doing my tours, and the guest is none other than Bill Henderson with the Dream Shop. Bill, why don't you go ahead, take it away, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do in a nutshell.
Well, thanks, Luca. I called my business the Dream Shop not because I was fulfilling dreams for other people, but because this was my dream job.
Wow.
I had a long corporate career. I traveled all over the world. My profession was marketing.
Okay.
I worked in several different industries, including medical rescue, anti-terrorism, pharmaceutical,
Right.
uh, helping prevent counterfeit drugs in the market, things like that. And I frankly got tired of the rat race. I got tired of traveling, and I got tired of working for other people. And when I had the chance to retire early, I did. And at the time, I was already sort of with one foot in this business. I had written my game worn guide back when we lived in Japan. We were in Japan for 2.5 years in the early 2000s. And uh, living in Japan was kind of funny. In your free time, you couldn't really watch TV because nothing was in English,
Sure.
and there wasn't a lot to do. The internet was still pretty new at that point,
Okay.
and I was compiling lists of jerseys that I wanted to collect, and I was seeing with the rise of online auction sites like eBay, there was a lot of stuff being offered for sale that just wasn't right. And I started keeping a record of what was correct and what wasn't.
Okay.
Whether names were used on the back, whether nameplates were used, what colors were used, um, whether the shirts for the Phillies were zipper front or button
Yeah.
in certain years. And I started keeping lists of it. And before long, I had 500 or so pages, and people started asking me to send them copies of it.
Wow.
That grew into the game worn guide to Major League Baseball jerseys from going back to 1970, which we're about to this year at the All-Star break. If we keep on schedule, we should have the 10th edition of it out,
Really?
and it's going to be completely new with dozens and dozens of authentications in the book
Wow.
as well. So it's not just going to be pictures of shirts; it's also going to be complete authentication documents for jerseys, so you can see what's real
Wow.
and what's not. So that's sort of been my life's
Yeah.
work. And as I retired, I was able to start restoring jerseys and authenticating jerseys for people who would send them to me. They figured I should be an expert on this. I should be able to tell them whether what they had was real or not real. So I started doing authentications. My background as a hobby has been graphic arts. My dad was a graphic artist,
Okay.
and he had a printing business, and I used to work there when I was in high school, and I always dreamed I'd be a graphic artist.
So you guys had the printing sheets, the metal printing sheets and everything.
He did big printing plates for corrugated
Wow.
boxes, and I always thought I'd go work with him and be a printer, and he definitely discouraged that. He told me to go to college and
Yeah.
go get a job someplace else, and if you want to come back here and do this, you can. So I never went back to do that, but I've certainly used my art training to do a lot of what I do, and it's also allowed me to catch all the details
It's
to look
precision.
for.
Yeah.
So I'm doing what I really enjoy doing. There's three parts to my business
Okay.
in the Dream Shop. We do authentications,
Okay.
we do restorations,
All right.
and I also customize jerseys for people. So people who want names and numbers added to their shirts and they want it to be exactly perfect.
Like the
Like
one I'm
that
wearing.
one I made
Yeah.
for
You
you
did make
several
this one
years
for me.
ago. That
Yeah.
was I think if I remember correctly, that was 1992.
92?
1992, Indians turned back the clock day to 1926 or
Something,
something,
yeah.
something like that.
Jim told me, and the reason why I wanted this one, it was his rookie season, if I do remember. So, I do like collecting jerseys from players, whether it's a retirement season, a rookie season, an all-star jersey. I like those little, specialties within the
It's
hockey.
good to have a theme to your collecting.
Yeah.
It prevents you from going overboard
Sure.
sometimes.
Sure.
But doing those three things has kept me more than busy. I have a couple people who help me out,
Okay.
help me with shipping and receiving and some of the fabric cutting that we do.
Yeah.
But I have really my hand in everything that we do, and I probably, as I was telling you before, I probably work far too many hours a week doing
Sure.
this. But just recently, we've moved to a new shop, new home, where I have more room. Before I was in my basement, and there wasn't room to turn around, and you'd hit your head on the ceiling with the pipes that were there,
Oh
and it was
man.
just a bit much.
Yeah.
So now we're in a space where we can actually,
Sure.
see some light and open
Yeah.
the windows, and it's working great.
And the actual second part of this podcast and video is going to be us in your shop and getting a little bit of walkthrough about what you do and
And we're
some
gonna
of the
try
things
all
you
the
do.
stuff out.
Try all this stuff. Excellent. So, Bill, so it's kind of crazy that this all started with you wanting to basically kill downtime in Japan, and it turned into this huge operation that of course, you helped me and many other people achieve their dreams. In addition, you're doing restorations for these mega pieces that we're going to get to here in a minute, and you even do some work for directly for MLB teams here and there.
Here and there.
Here and there. That's awesome.
I help when I'm asked.
Sure.
I keep all the historic patterns, or I've recreated all the historic patterns.
Right.
And a couple of teams have come back to me because they wanted to be very accurate with their turn back the clock uniforms.
Okay.
And I was able to help the Astros for one.
Okay.
And I've gotten a lot of help from the teams. The Dodgers have been very generous with their time,
Sure.
helping me find out what's historically correct and what's not. And yeah, it works two ways. And I'm very grateful for the chance to have made some good contacts and some good friends with these organizations.
Now, of course, you're a Phillies fan, including the Phillies. Is there another team that you found the most fulfilling to be able to work with?
That's a good question. I enjoy the teams that aren't afraid to take some risks.
Like the White Sox?
Like the White Sox.
With all the
The
crazy
White
things
Sox
they
are
did
a
over
good
the years.
example.
Yeah.
The White Sox of the 70s couldn't decide what they wanted to be. They
yeah.
changed every 2 years.
Yeah.
I like the Astros in a sick sort of way because they, up until the past few years, they used to change things constantly.
Oh, they're really liberal with their designs and changes.
And there's minute changes
Yeah.
between each year's uniforms that are distinctive to me, that I can tell whether something is made by Sandknit or made by Goodman or
Sure.
made by Rawlings. They're all slightly different.
I think even the Braves, to an extent, too, they had a lot of variation with over the
They
years.
did?
Yeah.
Yes, they did. And it's the Padres are another team that could never make up their mind.
Okay.
So, and being a kid growing up in the late 60s and during the 70s, all the flash and color of the 60s and 70s
Yeah.
were,
Those are the things I like.
they were the
I like
things
the wild ones.
that attracted me to the sport. Probably the same kind of things that made my dad really annoyed because they were breaking with tradition.
Sure.
But yeah, that's and of course I have a soft spot in my heart for the Phillies. I have more Phillies in my collection than anything, just because that's what I grew up.
That's your hometown team. Yeah. So we're talking briefly about the getting information for some of the teams and helping them with their jerseys, whether it's for a team or whether it's for somebody's personal project. Was there ever a time where you just couldn't get enough information for a certain jersey?
Well, one of the things that we take for granted right now is when you want to find something out, you go put in a few words into Google and you pull up pictures on the internet.
Sure.
And I have to say that when I started this whole archiving process, there was no such thing. If you wanted to find pictures of the 1956 World Series, you had to go to not only your library, but you had to go to the big Philadelphia Free Library downtown and go through musty books that they might not
Sure.
even know where they are.
And then later on, Sports Illustrated and different
Or you
baseball
would go,
cards.
For a good example is Peter Capolino at Mitchell and Ness
Sure.
had a full set of baseball magazines, Sports Illustrated, going back into the 1950s, and with Baseball Magazine back into the teens and the 20s, I think.
Right.
And that was the only way you could see pictures of what this stuff looked like. And it was incredibly difficult to find pictures. Today, it's still difficult to find pictures of things from years back. For example, if you go on Getty Images and search for the Atlanta Braves from 1965, you might find 50 pictures.
Right.
Now when you go to search Atlanta Braves, you might find 50 pictures just from yesterday's game.
Just from yesterday's game.
And I use these for research. So if you're trying to find out what was original to those years, being able to go back and research things is important. I find that much of the information that's on the internet is not correct. It's especially incorrectly dated. And people give it their best effort, I guess, when they're listing something. But they'll say that this picture's from 1975. I have one example. I can't remember the name of the player, but I think it was on the Angels. They said this is a special day on the picture of the internet. This is a special day honoring this player who was deceased. And I look in the dugout, and he's sitting in the dugout in that picture. So clearly the picture was dated and captioned wrong.
Right.
But when you use one source of information and you don't double check the information, it's very good chance that it's not right. So to answer your question, I've been asked to authenticate jerseys from the 20s, Yankees,
Wow.
Cincinnati Reds,
Sure.
and it's really hard to find photographs.
I'm assuming even teams that are like defunct, like the St. Louis Browns, that would be almost near
Impossible.
impossible.
In fact,
Yeah.
it's a good point, Luca. If you think about small market teams, if you look for pictures of the Phillies from the 1930s, now Philadelphia is not a small market, but it's not as big as New York.
Sure.
Most of the pictures of the Phillies you're going to find from the 30s are in their road uniforms, because they would take pictures of the Phillies players for baseball cards and for the newspapers, or where it got when they were in Chicago or when they were in New York.
Yeah.
There wasn't as many photographers in
Wow.
Philadelphia, so you didn't have as many pictures of the Phillies in their home uniforms.
That's crazy.
And going into the later years, that's very true for teams like the Expos and the Padres. It's really hard to find pictures
Okay.
of those teams in the 70s because there just weren't that many news photographers. The
and
Toronto
bookers,
Blue
yeah.
Jays are another example. It's almost like online. They don't exist in their first year of 1977. It's so hard to find any pictures of them. I came across this exactly when I was looking for, in 1980, I believe, the Blue Jays wore a vertical arch font for the player names on their home uniforms only.
And not on the
And-
away.
What's that?
And not on the away.
Right. And they wore a different font on the away. And to try to find any pictures of what this font looked like so I could recreate it to restore things was next to impossible. The same with the Mariners back in their first few years, 1977 to 1980.
It was the powder blues.
The powder blues and also the white home uniforms,
Right.
they used on the home uniforms a vertical arch font.
Okay.
I could find no pictures of it. So I've recreated it over the years as I've restored uniforms, putting them on the light table, lifting the images from the light table, and then I can recreate the alphabet as to it was originally used in 1977. It just doesn't exist anyplace.
That's really impressive, because that's something that nobody else would think of.
Not
besides
only
being
would they
in the-
not think of it, nobody else cares. I mean, while
Sure.
everybody else is watching, Dancing with the Stars and whatever TV programs that they follow, this is what I'm doing. So
Yeah.
I'm wasting my time as far as most people would be concerned. But I've been honored that the Baseball Hall of Fame has repeatedly asked me for copies of my research, including all of these fonts and patterns that are lost to time.
at the time.
And I gladly sent it to them, for which they sent me a certificate and a
Really?
lifetime membership. And they tell me if I bring this card, I can get into the Hall of Fame for free. And my wife was very unimpressed. She said,
No,
big
that-
deal. What did that cost them? $10.
Right.
But to me, it's an honor.
No, it's a huge honor, because I mean, like, for me, what they should do is they should somehow enshrine you in the Baseball
I
Hall of
don't
Fame as
think
well,
so.
as a customizer and as
I
a
have a
historian.
certificate, and that makes me happy.
That's enough, right? So was there times throughout this process where people just don't care? They're like, Bill, I just want my jersey bag. Do what you need to do. Make it as close as possible. Whatever you think is good enough, I'm fine with that.
Well, this is where social media has been a real advantage to me.
Okay.
I'm able to target focus my market, that I don't spend time with people who don't really need what I can do. So from my experience in marketing and sales, I'm really able to pre-qualify the people that I'm talking to make sure that I'm not wasting their time or their money.
Yeah.
They're not wasting my time.
Yeah.
And we pretty quickly get down to decide if what I can provide as a service is what they're willing to pay for
Sure.
and what they want back. So I really waste very little time, and I see a bunch of artifacts that come through this place that are just amazing. I think later on when we go into the shop, I have 2 flannel tan 1969 Padres jerseys here
Wow.
that I'm in the process of restoring. And that's another team where you just can't find any pictures of them back in those days.
I mean, it's a small market, and how many jerseys came from the Padres?
Not many.
Not many.
That's for sure.
So let me ask you this: is there a certain type of jersey you like working on the best, or a certain project you look forward to versus others?
I like the variety.
Okay.
I have to say that I do a lot of pro lettering of authentic jerseys that people send me. And as silly as it seems, doing 50 Ken Griffey Mariners jerseys really helps keep the lights on, because that type of volume helps pay the bills. If I break down the amount of time that I spend authenticating a Hank Aaron or a Mickey Mantle jersey, I don't make as much money doing that as I do sometimes cranking out some things.
Barry Bonds, the Ken Griffey's, I'm sure even too now with the current City Connects, I'm sure you've been getting a lot of.
And they're especially challenging because the fonts are not available.
And they all use different fonts too.
They use different fonts, and I need to recreate things.
And again, going back to the Padres, they might have a certain color of pink or yellow on that jersey that you can't get from the standard supplier of the tackle twill.
That's a new Nike thing. Nike started to use fabric that's different than we've been using in this hobby for the last 50 years, and it's not available, and some of the colors are just not going to be available.
So speaking of the City Connects, both from a personal standpoint, on preference, and also, from your industry, how do you like the City Connect program?
Well, to answer your question, I'm going to turn back time to what I said a few minutes ago.
Okay.
I think of what my dad thought about the polyester uniforms of the early 70s. With the bright red Indians jerseys and the Phillies wearing baby blue. He didn't like it because it wasn't
the typical black, red, or navy that he was used to seeing.
It was flashy. It was fancy. It wasn't what he was used to. And I think about that. To me, that's what baseball is. It's the bright colors of the 1970s.
Right.
So when you ask me what I think of City Connect, I have to keep in mind that I'm an old man now, relatively.
Right.
And I don't like it,
okay,
but it doesn't really matter because I'm not their target market. They're trying to be
appeal to the younger
relevant
crowd.
to a younger generation and get more people interested.
18 to 35 range, roughly.
Yeah, and they're also trying to sell more merchandise. Let's be realistic.
At the end of the day, it's about marketing. It's about making sales.
How many Yankees jerseys can you sell? They haven't changed their design in 75 years.
They had the Players Weekend in the Field of Dreams. Yeah. Maybe a turn back the clock, but the turn back the clock basically looks like their home in Wizard.
Kind of. I mean, there's not much there. So.
But this year they're actually changing their road uniforms this year.
They are. They're going back to the 1971 pre-double knit uniform. No trim on the sleeves. No white outlines around
Single
New York.
color in New York.
I actually like that.
They're nice.
They're nice. But while I don't particularly see the appeal of the City Connect uniforms. I guess some people must. Though I will say, when I post City Connect uniforms on my Facebook page, they get the fewest likes of any of the things I post.
So recently, the Phillies City Connect got leaked. It's not official, but it got leaked. I think it looks so at best. I mean, you might know better than me what's coming from the city.
It's a mystery to me. To me, it does. If I think of City Connect, I think of the icons that make the people in a city would be proud of.
Like Washington, I thought they did a great job with, or Colorado. I think they hit it on the head with drawing something that the city's known for.
Well, the Philadelphia one that I saw leaked, to me, doesn't speak anything.
So if you had if the Phillies came to you, you're like, Bill, we're finally coming to you. We want you to design our City Connect. What are some ideas you could put into it from Philly?
It would look just like the everyday Phillies uniform. I have to think that some of the teams have been resistant to the whole City Connect idea. The Yankees, for example, would not wear any throwback uniforms or do anything with their designs until they were literally forced to by Major League Baseball to wear, the pink and the blue Mother's Day and Father's Day.
Right.
It was kind of sacred. It was like why Penn State never put player names on the backs of their football uniforms.
Right.
It was just tradition, and they didn't want to mess with it. I think of the the silly turn ahead the clock games of
Oh,
1999.
yeah.
And only about half the teams agreed to participate at all. And one of the teams that did participate was the Tigers. And when asked to predict what their uniforms would look like in 25 years, the Tigers' turn ahead the clock uniform was simply the same Tigers uniform, but with no sleeves.
With no sleeves.
Uh,
They had a prototype version too with like a tiger tail, if I
that
remember.
was the away uniform, and it never got used
Okay.
because the game got rained out.
All right.
It was supposed to be, I think, the Tigers and the Red Sox. It was rained out. It was in September, and it
Yeah.
never was rescheduled.
So out of that whole series, which was your favorite one? For me, I like the Pirates the best from that whole
The
turn ahead
Pirates
clock.
was kind of crazy. It had the big, giant pirate head on
Angry
the
looking,
chest.
yeah.
I think the Mets was the most clever, where they pretended they were from the planet Mercury.
From Planet Mercury, yeah.
I mean, the whole concept of the thing was kind of silly,
Yeah.
but it seems like a number of teams put some thought into it,
Right.
and then a number of them, unfortunately, like your Pirates, they just took the logo and they blew it up real big. The Royals did the same thing.
And the White Sox did the same thing
The White
too.
Sox did the same thing. To me, it didn't really show much creativity and
It
thought.
was irrelevant to the point that they're trying to make with
But
that
yeah,
program.
it was just kind of the whole thing was kind of silly.
So from a personal level, what's your favorite style of jersey? Are you a wool flannel guy? Are you a V-neck pullover from the 70s? Are you obviously not a City Connect, but
I have to say, and this is judging from what I grew up with, they say that your team for life is what you were a fan of when you were 12 years old. My favorite is the baby blue Phillies zip front.
so you like the zipper fronts?
That's my go-to.
Yeah, I really like the White Sox zipper fronts from the 70s as well. You know, now it seemed that the late 60s and 70s was the time for powder blues all the way until roughly the mid 80s, and then the powder blues started dying out with the teams.
They originally did it to look better on color television,
Right.
and it did look good. In fact, the Braves designed their 1972 flashy pullovers because they knew they were going to get a lot of television exposure.
Right.
With Hank Aaron going after the home run
Home
record.
series, yeah.
And especially the road uniform was important to look really flashy because the Braves only televised their road games.
Really?
So they wanted to look good on television on the road.
And it's a great looking jersey.
It is a great looking jersey. Unfortunately, they were very poorly made. They shrunk into child sizes. I have a couple of them in my collection. I'll show you upstairs.
Even though being polyester, it's still shrunk.
They shrunk like
Wow.
crazy, and they eventually tried to dry clean them to prevent
Okay.
the shrinkage. And there's a famous old story that there was a fire at the dry cleaning plant, and in putting the fire out, a lot of the Braves jerseys got ruined
Oh, no.
with being hosed down in the room with there's stains and things all over them. I have one of them as well. But there were many sets made of the early Braves jerseys because they just kept shrinking.
Right.
And they just had to keep making multiple sets so the players had shirts to wear. These were unwearable. They literally shrunk up 6 inches, 7 inches on the back.
That's insane.
And they finally abandoned Sandknit, who was the company who was making them out of polyester, and went to Wilson
All right.
and solved the problem. But early on, the original polyester uniforms weren't very permanent, well made. I have a Brewers jersey in the other room that I'm restoring where you can see that the color faded so badly underneath where the numbers were that it's 10 shades different in color.
That's unfixable, unfortunately.
But that the polyester uniforms were it was a big change.
Yeah.
And that's my era.
Yes. So was the polyester uniforms all the way until what was it, about 2012 when the Cool Base took over? Was it 2006?
It was a little bit before
2006,
that.
I believe.
2006 was
Yeah,
really the
yeah.
first year of, I think, without looking it up, of Cool Base. The Cool Base fabric was revolutionary in that it was lightweight, but it wasn't see-through. So when you put it on over a different color shirt, it didn't show through as much. It wasn't like a mesh shirt or something that was real lightweight. I don't know how they did it.
Yeah.
It breathed better. The problem with Cool Base uniforms is they're not very durable.
And they oxidize bad too in certain parts.
There was early on a lot of issues with fading and uneven fading. For
Correct.
example, the Dodgers I understand, considered going away from Cool Base because the underarm panels
Turned yellow.
and they didn't like it, and they wanted to go back. The Yankees were one who completely bucked the trend. The Yankees refused to wear them. It took them probably 7 or 8 years, and then they made them available only on road uniforms.
Because the pinstripes were
The
uneven.
pinstripes,
Yeah.
and even if you look just in the recent years, the Yankees are the only team that don't have the vented side panel
Correct.
on their
Yeah.
Cool Base uniforms or their Flex Base uniforms because it interrupted the pattern of the pinstripes. So, but it seems that Nike's having more control over things and doing more what they want with less input from the teams. That's what I hear, at least.
Yeah.
But the times change.
So speaking of Nike, what's your take on the way Nike's handling the uniforms in terms both aesthetically and from a functionality standpoint?
It's a difficult question to answer because I have insight from people I know in the teams, and I don't want to betray any confidences.
Yeah, of course.
But I can tell you it's not universally liked.
Right.
The fabric is much more sheer. It might be more comfortable to wear, I'm guessing, but it's very lightweight. And the thing about the tech fabrics is that if you get a small rip in it, even the size of a grain of rice, it loses its integrity.
With spider webs to it at some point, I'm guessing.
It's like it's like wet toilet paper. It just tears.
Yeah, yeah.
And the way the lettering is sewn on is not as durable. But it doesn't seem to matter as much because now they're much more into selling game-worn items and putting it in the pro shop and selling
Garage
it for a large amount of money.
Sure.
And they just order a new set.
Yeah.
And logistics of the new century being what they are, they can get a new set of uniforms really within a matter of day or 2 days from the factory. Whereas in the old days, you had to pull a uniform out of the trainer's closet, strip the old lettering off it, and somebody had to sit down at a sewing machine and stitch numbers on. And a lot of times they used old numbers that were taken off of other players' jerseys.
Even the numbers?
Even the numbers.
Wow.
Because, in fact, that was one of the reasons they used nameplates, is that they could take the nameplate off of last year's jersey, or they could take the nameplate off and reissue that shirt to somebody else. Or if a player damaged his uniform, you could take the nameplate off and put it on the new shirt.
Hence why hockey and football have nameplates, because those jerseys get damaged on the
exactly right.
nightly basis at the games.
And you look at the cost of recreating a player's name and stitching all of that. It's expensive. It takes a long time. And it also takes a long time.
Well, especially in the NFL, if you have a 40-man roster, that's going to add up real quick.
Absolutely right. So that's why they used to use nameplates. They don't use them anymore, except on a couple turn back the clock uniforms to be nostalgic. But they don't use them anymore because there's really no reason. Uniforms are used for short periods of time. They're sold to collectors, sold to fans, and they give them a new set.
Yeah. So, final question: do you have a certain project that you prefer over the other? Like, do you like doing a la carte services, or do you prefer full restoration projects, or just simply a basic customization process where you add on the name and number?
I like I said before, I really enjoy the variety of it. It's all good. And I make sure when I take work on that the person who's assigned me the project is going to let me do it right. I don't like to do things halfway. For example, I get a lot of requests these days. People say, hey, I bought all this lettering on the internet. Can you sew it on? And I won't do it. And I don't do it not because I'm a mean guy. It's because I can't guarantee the quality.
Yeah.
A lot of times the materials are substandard, and always it's the wrong size, it's the wrong font, the outlines aren't the right thicknesses. It's just not the correct product, and I don't want to put my name on that.
Sure.
So I don't particularly like doing that, but I like recreating one-offs for people, making their high school uniform or their American Legion uniform. I mean, it sounds funny because it's not anything historical, but it gives me a chance to be creative and to create something that makes people really happy. And as hokey as it sounds, I really enjoy getting thank you notes and having people tell me how happy what I did made them and sending me pictures of them wearing it. I just made a jersey for the Puerto Rico team from like 1975
No
for
kidding.
somebody who's wearing it to a tournament in Puerto Rico, and he promised he would send me pictures of it. And
Wow.
it was just fun to do that.
Sure.
So I have to say there's not much I do that I don't enjoy doing, and that's part of the fun of working for yourself is you can
Pick and choose.
limit what
Yeah,
you do, that
yeah.
you don't do things that aren't fun.
Excellent. Well, Bill, that concludes our first part of the podcast
Okay.
and of the video. Thank you so much for this part.
My pleasure.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to go head over to the shop,
All right.
and we're going to be able
Let's
to
go do that.
touch a little base over there. All right,
All
let's
right,
get to
good.
it. All right, cut.